This is as close as you're going to get. Now, my Hawk Girl image is almost finished. You're not going to see it very well because I'm not showing it to you very well. But I'll show you this very well. Now, here's what's going to happen. Now, because these are the first 10 minutes of the fucking movie, I've decided to not buy James Gunn's Superman. I just don't feel good about it. Now, I did watch Real Rejects commentary watching the movie. They loved it. I did not feel good about it. So, at some point, I'm going to space this out so that I don't have this video blocked. So you know how this works, okay? Um, I know what this is. That's on the back of my Superman book. I'll show you to you at the end, but here we go. This shit. Domain, as in public domain, in 9 years. All right, we're doing a pause here. 3 centuries ago, the first super. Why are we doing, if I may ask? Now, I was warned about this through several YouTubers. Why are we doing this sort of weird introduction? I and then you have to set this whole thing up here. You have to set up this gods and monsters stuff. You got 3 centuries ago, and then you got 30 years ago, and then 3 years ago was Superman. 30 years ago, Kal-El came to Earth. 3 years ago was Superman. And then 3 hours ago, 3 minutes ago, he gets his ass handed to him. Now, I just don't. I feel like the energy was better with the Fantastic Four. Because with the Fantastic Four first steps, you had a very brief sort of a recap of the origin story involving these actors that didn't really happen because there was no first movie. Yeah, that was the first movie with those actors in it, with Vanessa Kirby and Pedro Pascal. So this is just weird. Just having this text. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it, and I'm gonna say, would it have been better to have had vocal, you know, just a narration by the actor? Like, I've never had this happen before. This is the first time I've lost a battle. I am Superman, and this is my story. And then we cut to black or some shit. Like, I don't know. This is just not the way to do it. Especially if there are people who are blind. The people who are blind, and you have to explain to the blind person what's happening in the movie. It's like, oh, it's pretty sparse. What's happening? All right, continuing on. Um, 3 minutes ago. So I will not be really going over this. I think I covered this already, did I not? I mean, this is like the first fucking thing we see when it comes to Superman getting his ass handed to him. Um, Now, there's some people who like kind of assimilate, oh well, the same things happen in Man of Steel happen in Superman. But it's not what you say, it's how you say it. What you say, you could say the same words as the other person, but how you say it is different. And how it was done when you have Hans Zimmer, and by the way, in case anybody wants to know, Zack Snyder's working on a movie in which a man is finding his niece and nephew, but they have to find he has to go through a photographer who has pictures to lead him. It's a mystery thriller, I guess. So we'll see how that goes. But going back to Gunn, it's just not. This is just beaten down and dragged down. This is how Gunn feels Superman must be. Okay. And if I remember Man of Steel, I think the first time we see him, well, didn't we see him just working? Just we saw him as a man. We didn't see him in the suit. We saw him as a man because it was an origin story, right? But we saw him in the suit later. But we saw him as a working man first. Then we went to Krypton and all that. And while Krypton kind of looked like Lord of the Rings, it was its own thing. And they actually got a fucking linguist to make the alphabet, not with the Jeff Loeb alphabet from the 2000s, but a different set of alphabet, which is, it's fine. It's the weird Kryptonian that Zack Snyder put together. He's contemplating his life choices. I think he's following Matt Reeves on X. As Tyrone Magnus pointed out, a dog would sense when his master's in danger. Just sheer stupidity. Like, is this an autistic dog? Probably autistic. Okay, so one moment. While I kind of reflect on this. Now, the laws of physics still apply. I think if the Fortress of Solitude is going to keep rising and falling, I don't think it can afford to do that all the time, the way you flip off a switch on a wall. Light on and off, wax on, wax off. So the ice is going to keep breaking because those crystals keep sticking out through the ice. So at some point, you can't hide the fortress for too long. There's a hole there, right? Or is it just magically covered up? I don't know. I'm nitpicking this stuff. So somebody's going to see the fortress. I've always liked the sort of the 2000s version of the Fortress of Solitude, where it was a sphere, and you had to it's like a puzzle, and you had like a Rubik's cube. You had to assemble the puzzle, and it was a fourth dimensional intersection to go from one place to another, like a wormhole. For Man of Steel, it was a spaceship. It wasn't a Fortress of Solitude. It was just that spaceship. And to be honest, to kind of pick on Zack Snyder, I don't know how nobody else, like how many people were allowed in there, right? But only people that were government employees could go in there. But they never mess with the suits, I guess. I don't know. I'm nitpicking here, but seeing Krypto attack Superman without realizing his master's in danger. I mean, this is your master. You don't attack your master. That is not a good look for Superman to be dragged around like that, but whatever.
Sir, as we will not appreciate it. We have no consciousness whatsoever. Merely automatons here to...
This guy's name is Gary. Not Kalex. Not some Kryptonian name, but Gary the robot. And he just calls him... Well, hold on, we'll get to it. These robots are there for... what? For humor? Comic relief? I'm just so desensitized by seeing Jor-El and Lara for the 100th time by different actors, different incarnation. I just don't care anymore. And I saw somewhere that somebody, like, because they got the digital, we have the digital version now. If you get out your magnifying glass, you can see somewhere that Lex Luthor made up the holograms. So Jor-El and Lara are not telling Superman to go and get a harem and kill everybody on Earth if they don't obey. But it wasn't forged. But then it says it was forged on the news ticker. So I don't understand what it is. I mean, George Lucas would have seen something like that. You know, you got to keep track of these things. You know, George Lucas would have all kinds of stuff in his binders. James Gunn doesn't give two shits how this stuff comes out. Oh, by the way, let's praise Lego Batman coming out next year. That's going to be a great game, right?
Our son, we love you more than land. Our beloved home will soon be gone forever. But hope vitalizes.
See, but Superman would know all this stuff. He would know what's going on. So they're doing what they're supposed to be fucking doing. But I mean, he's as Tyrone said, as I'm thinking, the sunlight is everywhere. Why do you need a bunch of magnifying glasses to do this? You don't need to. You just wait till the sun hits you. Okay then. Now we got the engineer. She doesn't freeze to death, I guess, in ice. I mean, everything freezes, right?
I gotta get back to the fray.
But this hammer fellow just beat you at full...
Krypto!
Oh, yeah, this is what we're wasting our time on.
Hey, dude, I thought an eye on him.
Superman robots.
But he is unruly. And he realizes we are not flesh and blood and couldn't, in our heart of hearts, care less whether he lives or dies.
Stop, Krypto, Krypto, ow, stop it, stop.
You know, John Peters wanted this kind of thing for Lex Luthor to have a Brainiac dog that looks like some fucking like Klingon dog. I could have sworn. Yeah, there's a nice picture of what's her name as engineer. I could have sworn when Krypto was whining, there was a different take in which Superman was like, "Wait a minute, there's something out there." Now, at this point, now Krypto's just being a dumbass, but Superman is passing over engineer. Does he not see her? Does he not see the engineer? I don't know like, this is the first 10 minutes of the movie. Does he not know about the engineer? Right? Does he not know the engineers exist? Probably not. And this whole thing is about Lex Luthor with, we'll get to it in a moment, but, and you call them Superman robots. Anyway, I'm more nitpicking, I'm sure.
On his way back.
He doesn't even see her. If she was walking towards the fortress, you know, everybody pause for station identification, just in case you weren't sure.
Has abandoned you. The people of Varavia
Okay,
will
then.
not ignore him inserting himself into our hands.
10 and counting.
That was Happerson with the mustache and the glasses. I know Happerson's a little more classier, but I'm nitpicking stuff. Now, you don't need 30 people to do the job of one robot. Actually, if Lex Luthor is that fucking smart, he would get somebody, Sidney Happerson, to do all of that. I still think of when Brian Henson had those animatronic. It's basically what you're doing is like you have like two power gloves, like Nintendo style power gloves, and you wear a contraption on your face, and that's so that you can get a very Muppet sort of approach to how CGI puppets work when you're doing it on a computer. You're not drawing on a pad. You're not making frames. You're animating the hands and face. So if you apply that to a robot, where you're controlling the robot with motion controls, you don't need 30 fucking people to do all this. Okay. And if Lex Luthor cared about his fucking city, then he would have taken this away from the city. Now, of course, with Man of Steel, it was Zod, so Zod didn't give a shit one way or the other. I don't think Superman did either, which is one of the big minuses of Man of Steel. I'll talk shit about Man of Steel, and I will say that making out with Lois in the middle of a destroyed city was not the way to go. But Henry Cavill's Superman did his best, and I don't think Lex would have done that. I think somebody mentioned that the other Lex, Jesse Eisenberg, was better at what he was doing because he eventually won. Superman died, and that Lex Luthor got what he wanted. Though my favorite is still Michael Cudlitz, without too many writers in the kitchen.
18A.
18A, 1A. Yes, I've seen some of these scenes already. I think the problem is, I've seen so many of these scenes already in cartoons and other movies. The fighting in the city mindlessly doesn't hold any weight like it used to. You know? It really doesn't. I kind of think about that one scene, The Flash, where the Flash wanted to rescue both the father and son, and the son, he could only rescue the son, but the father, he couldn't rescue him. So there's a lot of weight. I mean, you look at the people who are in danger, and I guess this happens too in this movie, but it's just another Street Fighter thing in the sky. I don't know. I mean, once you've seen 100 of these, you don't really care anymore. The stakes don't feel that high. I guess with Fantastic Four, but everybody was moved under the city, and they just had to get Galactus. All they were trying to do is get Galactus to go onto the teleporter. They didn't really want to fight him, but they had no choice. Why does... I think Tessmacher would show a little more concern. I gotta go help this guy. Like, who is this one? Who are you?
It's been studying him for years. He's developed over 2,500 fight moves.
That's a different Sidney Happerson, I'll tell you that right now. What?
Ali, a local.
Lex, we have the engineer.
Why is that guy important?
The target has low in the hell. Thing hasn't been spotted.
Yeah, Superman would have been alerted in seconds.
Mierda.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what engineers said at the end, that's what I felt. Now you know how it works. I'm going to just rate these scenes as I go along. Now, I could give it a 5. I'm not going to give it a 4. I'm not going to give it a 3. What should I give it? I think that 1.5 is my fair assessment. That is a 1.5 out of 5. That translates to a 30%. An F, As in, you fucked up. So stay tuned for more scenes next time. What a waste. Holy shit.